Namaste, my name is Raj Singh Varmanjalu. With me is a special guest. We will be talking in Bhojpuri this part of the interview, and he will answer that question. What is your name? Tohar naam ka ba?
हमारा नाम मोतीलाल माढ़े है और एक और नाम मेरा रामोन
जी
रामोन मोतीलाल माढ़े बाकी रामोन हम काम में ना लाए लाओ
अच्छा
जी ऊपर मतलब ये है कि बाद में हम जब हमारी चेतना बढ़ल तब हम सोची ना
हम स्पेनिश
ना बाती
हाँ
हमारी हिंदुस्तानी बाती हम सबसे बोले लगली कि हमारा नाम मोती
जी
और ऐसे सब कोई हमें जाने मोती
अच्छा अच्छा तो जन्म कहाँ भाई सुरीनाम और दूसरे देश
हम तो सनाम के हैं जी क्योंकि हमारा जन्म भाई परसों
अच्छा
नेदरलैंड अंतरिक्ष में तो कारण ये है कि हमारे बाप माए सनामे के हैं हिंदुस्तानी हैं पहले तो बाप जब काम करे परसों
अच्छा
तो हुआ हमारा जन्म भाई दो भाई साथ ही ले गए सब जन्म होने के बाद एक बरिश दोनों जने फिर चलाएंगे सना
जी जी जी
यहाँ पे हम पालल पोसल बाकी
यहाँ अच्छा तो नानी आजा कहाँ भाई जन्म कहाँ भाई
हाँ तो हमारा नानी आजा आजी नानी नाना आजी आजा सब ना तीन जने हिंदुस्तान के
जी
नानी खाली यहाँ के जन्म वाला
अच्छा अच्छा
एक पुरानी कंत्राटी पुरानी गर्मी की अवसर और पहले में आयरन करना था लेकिन नाना आया पंजाब के जो पहले अरे जो बाद में पाकिस्तान है जिला गुजरात वाला के रहे और वहाँ पंजाबी बतिया हो गए तो पंजाबी रहा और सिख भी रहा
सच है
नाना रहा मेरठ में मेरठ मैंने दिल्ली से ऊपर लगभग 90 किलोमीटर ऊपर आगे हुआ के रहे और हिंदुस्तानी यात्रा मतलब हुआ के हिंदी
हाँ
फिर आज ही ले रहे बस्ती से बस्ती जिला बस्ती जहाँ ढेर सनामी लोग और भोजपुरी बतिया करा फिर बाद में हमारा नानी जो है तो नानी के बाप माए लखनऊ के हैं लखनऊ अवधी वाला
अवधी
वाला
अच्छा अच्छा तो कैसे भारत से आई कैसे सुरीनाम आई
वो सब 1873 से 1916 तक यहाँ से भारत से लोग लावत रहे काटे के गिरमिटिया शुगर केन प्लांटेशन पे कोको प्लांटेशन पे कॉफी प्लांटेशन पे काम करे कराए से बहुत कम पैसा में होता 5 बरिस के गिरमिट समय रहा कंट्रैक्ट रहा तो सब टेम बिताए के तब यहाँ बस गए ढेर जने फिर वापस चल गए न 1/3 एक तिहाई लोग वापस चल के भारत और 2/3 यहाँ बच गए सलाम
जी
तो उस सब की बुनियाद हम लोग
अच्छा तो बुद्धि लोग मूलिक देश भारत देश के बारे में का पति आवत रहे
देख उस सब के भारत छोड़ के यहाँ आकर के जो गुलाम के रूप में रहे पड़ा सबके
जी
वो सब के बढ़िया ना लगत रहा और शर्मात रहे अपन लड़कन बालन से बताओ कि कितना लाभ फैलने से गोरा जात लोग के और कितना सहेक पर ज्यादातर सब मुंह बंद करने रहे ना बताओ रहे एक जने कुछ बता दे कि हम लोग कलकत्ता से मुलुक शैली है ज्यादातर सब न बतैले अपन हमारो माए बाप के कमती बतैले तो बाद में जब अगली ई जमाना में थोड़ा खोज करे लगा जैसे हम हो गई खोज करे बाद में तब और जानकारी बढ़ल ना इरिगेशन के बारे में गिरमिट समय के बारे में अभी लोग बहुत कमती जानता खाली गोरा जात की दरिया होते हैं कि
तो तोहार लड़कपन के दिन के बारे में हम के तनी बताओ।
अरे लड़कपन तो बहुत लंबा चौड़ा है।
यस।
तो जब से हमारे होश फैल परसों में हम लोग रहली, तो इधर आयल हमारे बाप माए, तो हम लोग रहे लगी पारापासी पथवानिका में हमारे आदि लगे। तो हमें होश है, हमारे कुआ हमें गोदी में लेके खेलत रहा द्वारी पे, दुलार देवत रहा। तो हमें याद है कौन बड़ी से रहा, कारण कि हम लोग ढेर जगह रह ली। फिर बाद में इतिहास जाना भी जाता रहा, तो हम लोग जानी ई बड़े से वो बड़ी से हम लोग हुआ रह ली, वो बड़े से वो बड़े हुआ। तो वही समय पे दूसरा भाई, चौथा भाई रतन के जन्म भैल, जबकि हमारे गोदी में खेलत रहा। तो हम कह सकेला कि हम 2 बरस के रही लगभग, तो हमारे होश शुरू है। ऐसे फिर भूल हो जाती, सूत हो जाती, फिर और बाद में दूसरी चीज आती है। और फिर कितना चीज याद करी यार। हम धीरे धीरे बढ़ता हो जानी, हम लोग पहली या परापासी में, फिर हमारी गो में रह ली, फिर बाद में निकेरी कर ली। हमारा आजी में न चलत रहा लाइफ न। तो अजुआ आजी के छोड़ के चल गई गयाना रहे। तो गयाना में आजा दूसरा विडो क्लेश विधवा औरत के उसके बेटा नक्सन रहे, और वो अपन लड़का से इस कोशिश सबके, फिर और अपन लड़का भाई तो वहाँ में फिर हुआ और काका लोग।
जी।
और या हमें याद है गयाना के कि एक आध गाँव के लड़कन रहे, अभी में ताक का ही तो हमारा पहले वहाँ चल रहा है इसी कर से कर जाए। हमें याद कि जहाँ लोग रहते रही, और वो रहा लगभग 46 में। तो गाँव के लड़कन, गाँव के एगो डोंडुआ लैब है लोटो गलाई के आगे में। तो जमीन पे वो गोरा के रूप बनाए के, तो उनमें गलल लोटो दारी से देखी कैसे गोरा के रूप बन गया। उस जमाना के हमें याद भी कि जब तो पैसा लाश हो जाए, लॉस हो जाए, तो वो डीलिंग बोलत रहा, डीलिंग पैसा डीलिंग। तो हमें याद है पैसा लाश।
तो के खेलन तुम खेलत रहे
कौन खेल?
हाँ।
तो ऐसे हम लोग गोली खेलत रही, मार्बल ना, गोली लोटो से बाद में
जी
गलाई के लोटो रेस बनाते, बीच के मारे के ना। तो और खेल जितना धीरे धीरे हम लोग जब बड़का होते तो और चीज पौड़े और जाते हम लोग गोत्रों में ना। तो बाद में हम लोग अभी रहे हैं पहुँचा बैठेंगे, तो पूरा देहात है। तो लोग हमारे संगठन लोग हिंदुस्तानी लंदन सब धान खेत में जब बिना जोताव रहा, भीजल रहा, तो वहाँ क्रिकेट बना के लकड़ी डाल के, क्रिकेट हम लोग बोले थी बाटम बाल। तो वो खेलते रही, और वो सब सिखाए हम लोग के। ये गुल्ली डंडा खेले थे। गुल्ली डंडा मतलब कि एक डंडा जमीन पे रख के, एक छोटा टुकड़ा ऐसे रख के, दूसरे वाला लेके ओके टक से मारिए तो उल्टी ऐसे मारे जितना दूर, ये सबसे दूर मारे वो जीती।
अच्छा।
और कबड्डी भी खिलाते।
कबड्डी सच है?
कबड्डी भी खिलाते नाम है
सच है।
और हम बताया ऊपर 1953 के बाद
कबड्डी
हाँ
विश्वास
धीरे धीरे
चल गए।
हम लोग छोटा लंदन रही, तो उते में भी बहुत पॉपुलर रहा, प्रचलित रहा कुश्ती खेले।
सच्चे कुश्ती?
हम लोग लंदन 10 बरिस के 11 बरिस अपने में कुश्ती खेले थे। पटके जैसे पीठ लगा दिया।
सच है?
हाँ।
वाह। और खेले में कौन कौन गाना गावत रहे?
हमने गयाना के याद है, गयाना के याद वो पहले हिंदुस्तानी गाना सुनी।
सच है?
हाँ।
कौन सी गाना?
फिर को याद हो गई।
अच्छा अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं। अच्छा ठीक है।
और ये है ला 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 ला। बाद में कुछ भी तो कर रहा पहली।
हाँ, ये धुन है।
हाँ, एक धुन है।
अच्छा अच्छा,
खूब सुंदर ही,
बहुत सुंदर। तो
और बाद में आए
जी बोले।
मेरा जूता है जापानी,
मेरा
जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून हिंदुस्तानी, सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी। और वो हमारे वो चिन्ह वाला गीत बन गया। हमारे लड़कन के बाद में सिखाई मेरा फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी। That's an identity song.
Yes,
yeah?
an identity song.
Identity song. However, whatever clothes you wear, pantaloon है और
जो भी है,
फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी।
हिंदुस्तानी। और for us, हमारा दिल भी करीबन हिंदुस्तानी। हाँ जी। और लड़पन के दिन में का करत रहे?
हम लोग स्कूल यात्री में तो अलग ना।
जी सही है।
स्कूल यात्री और खूब पढ़त रही घरे। हमारे माए बाप के ना काम, हम लोग 11 भाई बहन रही। 11 भाई, उसके में बहुत लड़कन रहे माए बाप के।
जरूरी है के काम।
बाकी उन सब के ना जरूरी ना हम लोग के पठार की जा अपने सीखो।
जी जी
हम लोग अपने से
जी
ना, हम थोड़ा चतुर भी रही। बाद में फ्रेंच जब सीखे लगे तब हमें 10 नंबर हर क्वार्टर में मिला था। और घरे आए, अब मैं काम लगा जाए के सीखे के क्लासे में जान जाती हूँ
जी।
So I have an inclination to learn languages very fast.
Great.
Is that all well?
That's very good, very good. And with that, we'll end with some English questions. Answer in English. So some questions that we have is, why is it important to learn and preserve your mother tongue and pass it down to your future generations?
Later on, when I became aware of my identity, then I also went to Holland and became a linguist.
Yes.
And there my brains aroused about the function of language. Language is a quality of human beings.
Yes.
And I noticed that many people have so many prejudices about language.
Yes, right.
In our own community, the Hindustani community, we have Urdu for the Muslim, Hindi for the Hindus, but the living language, the vivid language, that was not Hindi, not Urdu.
No.
We spoke Bhojpuri in a mixture with some Dutch influences and some Sarantongo influences, and also a little Japanese, and English, of course, from there. So that became Sanami Bhasha. Then I became aware when I studied linguistics. Then I became aware that the whole world is prejudiced about languages.
Yes.
People say this language is beautiful, that language is inferior, that one is better. French is the most beautiful language in the world. Hindi, हमारे समाज में, in our community, Hindi is the best language in the world. Urdu for the Muslim is the best language in the world. That's the language of God.
Yes.
But the living, the most vivid language, which was daily spoken, in which our ancestors who came from India, who did their daily work, who suffered, who cried, who laughed, who had their pleasure, the daily language was the mixture of Bhojpuri, Audhi, and other language. But our ancestors came with an awareness that only Hindi and Urdu are languages superior to cultivate Yeah. But then I learned that there are about 6,000 languages in the world, and that time many have died out now.
Yes.
And that one linguistic principle is that no language is more beautiful than another.
Ji.
Every language is beautiful.
Ji.
And every language can be cultivated,
yes,
polished, to make it a standard language. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
And there are more beautiful things to say about mother tongue. Is the best means to utter your emotions.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
The best means to utter your emotions. Another strange language, like we learned Dutch here, never becomes your mother language. And also, a language is the bearer of your culture.
Yes, it is.
It's part of your identity. And that awareness grew in Holland.
Yes.
Because here in Suriname, when I was before 1996, I was very much busy with propagating Hindi at Pathshalas, private schools, and so I cycled to Leiden-Elensprinter, I cycled to Uitkijk, I cycled to Leesweg, where people had built small Pathshalas in private times for the children, and I tried to teach the children the Hindi I knew, yeah, but I saw that the success was not great. We started school, a Pathshala with 100 pupils, and after 3-4 months, it went, then you had only 15 children, and after 1 year the school is closed. Yeah, some serious boys and girls, they studied a little more, but as a whole, the Hindi success is very poor. Neither in Guyana, neither in Suriname, neither in Trinidad, nor in Suriname. And there, in Holland, my awareness grew that this language which my Nani Nana, my Adi Aja took from India, which I call also the language of Baba and Mai, yeah? That language is worth preserving, yeah? And then I went to India to research, doing scientific research.
Yes.
Where does my language come from? And there, when I went through the area from which my ancestors came, that is Bhojpuri, or the area in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, West Bihar, then I began to note all the characteristics of that language and compared it with the language, Sanami language we spoke in Netherlands and also in Suriname. And then I wrote the Sanami Vyakran, the grammar of Sanami, to prove that every language has a grammar. That was one point of the linguistic recognition of language, the importance of language, because every language has a grammar.
Yes, and even as Vishnu and I were working on translating the book into English, I find like, wow, Suriname is a very scientific language, like Bhojpuri. It's even at some point, sometimes I think it's a little bit more complicated than Hindi, times to time, especially when it comes to conjugation. My next question...
Let me finish this, because one more thing that I started to say, a language is not only sound without any structure.
Correct.
A language psychologically is the product of the intelligent mind of a person, which is a human quality.
Yes.
Our mind produces rules in which we construct sentences with meaning.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So, and in Dutch I say taal is the product van de intelligente menselijke geest. And that you can't you can't throw away. It's something precious. It's a diamond.
It's a diamond.
It's a diamond. However, not polished, but poets and singers and writers, they can polish it and make it more beautiful.
Make it more beautiful.
And sing nice songs.
Absolutely, and that brings a thought, and I don't want to go on sidetrack, but another thing I think people need to maybe all understand is that the language that we speak, Bhojpuri, is the language of many famous poets, and many even religious scriptures are also written in. So when we think Hindi, but actually much religious literature comes from Awadhi Bhojpuri, which is the tongue of our forefathers. That's a side note that I think many people don't realize.
Of course, many languages have a longer history than Hindi.
Right.
Awadhi, all Bhojpuri, they existed before Hindi came into existence. Urdu is even older than Hindi, do you know?
Yes.
And in the 19th century, then
standardization of Hindi happened.
Through the influence of the British, they tried to make the Hindustani spoken language into a national language.
Right.
But Bhojpuri were earlier first, but they took many words from Bhojpuri and so, and of course literature, religious literature, I would say
Ramayana, specifically Tulsidas Ramayana.
When Tulsidas says and speaks about Age chale bahuri ragurai, rikshchamuka parapatni arai, tahara satyupa. Sahita sugriva, avata dekha, aturba siva. This is about the meeting of Ram, Sita and Lakshman with Hanuman. Yeah? And it's in very beautiful verses. Doha, Chopai, etc.
Yes, Doha, Chopai.
And our grandparents took that language into a bundle in the Latari to Suriname, to Guyana, Fiji, Mauritius, etc.
So that's why it's also very important that we understand the value of the language as well. Yeah. Even more so than Hindi to some degree for us. Another question I have is this. Do you think we can reintroduce Hindustani successfully in Trinidad, Guyana, to reverse the process of language death? And even here, that Suriname may face eventually.
Look, the situation in Guyana and Trinidad is like this, that the people there lost their mother tongue. They are now speaking Creole English or broken English, maybe standard English.
Yes.
But they are now, as I experience, they are now a bit jealous of the situation in Suriname where we still speak.
Yes, they are.
Bhojpuri or the Sanami.
Yes.
Yeah, but it can be tried, but it's a great task to reintroduce the lost heritage in Guyana, Trinidad. I'm not against it, but then the people there must get awakened.
Yes.
They must get proud of their heritage, and also they have to press their government to introduce their mother tongue into instruction.
Patronage is necessary.
Yeah. The government should do this now. And I'll give you an example. When Israel was founded, then the whole
all the Jews had to relocate. Yes.
Jewish diaspora were
all over the world.
Scattered. When with European help, Israel was founded.
Right.
Then they had a great task to reintroduce the Jewish language. And if you have that national
garb,
then you can realize it.
Yes.
If you have that pride, you have that pride to reintroduce your language, then Trinidad and Guyana will
surely can do it.
Be successful. But we in Suriname here are, and in the Netherlands, we are on another track.
Yes.
We are still losing our Suriname.
Yes.
In Holland, it's a fact. The youngsters there don't speak Hindustani, no Suriname. They understand. And some youngsters, when we say, well, what is Ramlila? What's that? Then the direction, what is that? What is that? They don't, if you ask, I over generate.
Yes, that's all right.
You say, what is pani? They would know.
Yes.
Yeah, but most, you often hear young girls and young boys say, it's for Chinese. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And that is spreading all over the country. The Netherlands is already lost for all youngsters. And there is about 170,000 people. And you have to look at it. Even people in Holland don't believe that the language is dying. They say, no, you hear it everywhere. But you have to look at the generation.
I agree.
The oldest generation, they speak fluently. The middle generation, those who are between 40 and 60, they speak, but they don't speak the language
to the
of
young
the children.
ones. Yes.
And the youngest generation, they are lost.
They're lost.
Yes,
I see that.
and that is happening here too, in Suriname. That's a pity.
So, so the answer then to you, right? And I am agreeing with you too, that patronage is very important. Without patronage, it becomes a very difficult task.
Yeah. But nowadays we have great support from the United Nations.
Yes.
UNESCO has recognized the function of mother tongues all over the world.
Yes.
And many nations are getting aware, become aware that they should do something on lost languages. Even here in Suriname, some Amerindian languages which are lost. There are missionaries who try to cultivate these lost languages. In Nicaragua, and so there are countries where the people, the Indian people, the Amerindian people speak French and speak Spanish. They try to introduce their
Mother tongue.
And because the mother tongue is very important for your identity. Yeah.
So that being the case then, our viewers then, we need people of like-mindedness to join us to make this cause aware to others and stand up for this history, this living history. And the next question that I have, and the last one is, why is Hindustani viewed as a low class, broken? How can we change the public perception to make it an esteemed language? I remember when I was teaching here in Suriname, a woman told me that she can speak Suriname, but she doesn't want to. She says Hindi is more beautiful. And they themselves, as a Suriname family, were saying this is a total language. And even in my house, we have that opinion as well. How can we change that perception?
It's all to do with the awareness which lacks.
Yes, that's the
yeah. So it's a great task to get people aware of the language, which, or as she spoke, from India.
Right.
And everyone has a task. The parents have a task.
Yes.
Yeah. Not to be ashamed of using their language next to Dutch or English.
Right.
No, because one rule in language learning is that a child between 0 years and up to 9 years lives in a taalgevoelige leeftijd.
Interesting.
Taalgevoelige leeftijd will say, has an English name. They are very.
But they're like sponges; they can absorb everything.
Without grammar, without a grammar book, and so rules, and so if you speak 2 languages in their home, then the children pick it up very easily. It has an English name, taalgevoelige leeftijd. But parents have
a role.
But first they must be aware of the importance of it. Right. And these who speak to people, they should, they can keep speaking Urdu or Urdu or Hindi, but translate also or speak to your audience also in common
language.
Sanami. Yes. And our politicians also. Now in Suriname we see that the Creole people are very aware of the duty of their own language, the Creole.
Yes.
And they spontaneously use Sranantongo in Parliament.
Yes.
And then nobody says anything. Even the Prime Minister here, he uses Sranantongo. But this awareness is not awakened yet.
Of the value of Suriname and the downfall.
He can also use Suriname sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah?
Why not?
Because they are icons. That's a voorbeeld figuur. They are icons. They are icons for the rest of the population. If we see some Doki speak Suriname, then the people will say, oh,
we can speak it too.
We can speak it too. Yeah? Or even use Japanese sentence.
We should use Japanese sentences.
Then the Japanese people will be
some proud of their language as well.
Learning the language of another one shows, with that you show respect to that other people.
That's right.
When I was at school here, then a Japanese friend came next to me, to sit next to me. Then I started to ask him, how do you say I love you? Yeah? Then he learned me, aku senang karo kowe. And whenever I go and I meet Japanese, I say this. Aku senang karo kowe, aku arep mangan, I want to eat. Yeah, then they are proud. Because languages bring people closer to each other. I myself, I know 10 languages. That's Bhasha Janila.
Such it?
Dutch Janila, Engels, Frans, Dutch, Netherlands, Latin, Gothic, even Gothic I have learned in my study. Sranantongo, Misaptak Sranantongo, Mitak Gaelistu, and so on. And Bhojpuri, the Indian Bhojpuri, I know the old Audhi, Ramayan Audhi Janila. I say, languages, the more languages you know, the more human you are. Then you can, when I go to Russia, where I cannot speak Russian, then I'm illiterate.
Yes.
I see many people come from Iran, doctors, engineers, but they don't speak Dutch, so they go cleaning houses. They get such jobs because they don't speak Dutch. Yeah, and the recognition is very low. So
that's the power of languages. That's the power of languages. Well, thank you. You've answered so many questions. You shared your story. You also educated us immensely. I'm sure there's many people in Trinidad, Guyana that are just amazed to hear this. And I believe for those who are watching that are Surinamers, hopefully this is a time of revelation. That they realize, wow, this is something that we need to preserve and to help. And this learning languages just makes you smarter.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you.
There is also a psychological and spiritual aspect to this.
Of course.
Because one of the reasons for our existence on this planet is that we as human beings are here to broaden our mind, our awareness, our consciousness. Here,
yes.
I can
use that word.
Consciousness.
Yes.
Then you begin to realize that we are one family.
Yes.
In Sanskrit, we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
One family.
The whole world is one family.
Yes.
And if you only stay in one country, or you are, you are doomed.
You're stationed in one place.
Yes. You will think like Koop Manduk. Koop Manduk is a word which I learned from, an expression which I learned from my teacher, Jan Adin. Koop Manduk is a frog in a well. and he watches up, and he only sees up sometimes the blue sky and so, and he thinks that is the world. But one day when he comes on the edge of the well, then he is wondering what a great world is this. So the big world, we are now growing internationally, international awareness, consciousness is growing, so we should also broaden our mind so that we can be ideal human beings with respect for everyone.
I think we can close on this. There's two things, right? I would love for you to explain how you have come to be known as the father of Saranagi, and please close with your explanation on the Baba Mai statue, because both are excellent ways to give us some pride, and a great way to end this interview.
Baba Mai, in fact, I have invented that name. Yeah, is the word well invented?
Invented, yes, discovered, yes.
Yeah.
Invented, yes.
When I was at the secondary school here in Paramaribo in 1955, then we Hindustani guys and girls, we went on cycle to Paramaribo to study further. It was a period where the Hindustani youngsters began to go to higher schools and get diplomas and so on. But our classmates, some of them, Creole boys and girls, mostly boys, yeah, they were very jealous. From their homes they had a feeling that coolies, they are inferior, and so they need to be in the rice fields. So my own classmates, they said, "Hey baboon, saya kuduja, you baboon, babu saya, hey baboon, saya kuduja, what have you come to do here?" And the girls were treated as, "Hey Mai, go plant rice, Mai,
go plant rice,
go and plant rice." Yeah? And I was very good in Dutch, so I personally also felt insulted. Yeah, so I kept those two words, babu and mai, in my heart, and I wasn't aware of doing something with it, but it haunted me always. Yeah, that disrespect.
Yeah, disrespect.
When I went to the Netherlands, I became the public relations officer of the Surinamese Foundation, and there we went in search, Benjamin Mitra Singh and me, we had functions at the foundation. Then we went in search for our heroes, which are our heroes in the past.
Right.
Yeah? Because at school, in history classes, we learned about Baron, Boni, and Jolicoeur, Kojo, Mentor, and Hussein. These are the Surinamese heroes from the slavery time.
Yes.
Okay, we were indeed also heroes, yeah? But we couldn't accept that there
were no Indian heroes.
No Japanese or Hindustani heroes. So Benjamin Mitra Singh and I, we went to search in the history books, the colonial reports, and then we found 4 names in the reports of Mathura, Ramjani, Jamparajguru, and Tetri. Yeah? And in a booklet, we wrote about that history, and then I droeg het op. I
lifted it up. Offered it.
I offered the book I wrote for Baba and Mai. That idea of Babu and Mai, I wrote there. And I told Benny something, that was in 1977. Then I told Benny Mitra Singh, Benny, when we are in Suriname, back in Suriname, there should be erected a monument at the spot where our ancestors set foot.
Hier.
Aan de Sommersdijkse kreek.
Ah.
En daar moet een monument komen. There must be a
erected
monument erected with the name of Baba and Mai. And that when he did, indeed, he realized it because he came to Suriname, became a member of parliament and had some influence, and with his friends he put it down there, yeah? And to my surprise, when I came this time in Suriname, then I went to Kommerwijnen, and then I saw Baba and my replica in front of the commissioning, the commissariat. Made me glad. And when I went to Nikeri, in front of the commissariat, there is also a monument of Baba and Mai. Made me very humble and proud. And I know that in Kolkata,
yes, they have Baba Mai there. Yes.
Baba and Mai is also on the spot on the Hooghly River.
Yes.
Where
they departed.
Our ancestors at the Suriname Ghat, Suriname Ghat of Baba and Mai. And the lady, the ambassador of Suriname in India, she knew about the origin of the name. She asked me to write the text on that monument, and I didn't use Hindi or Urdu. I used Sarnami Bhodhi. And it starts like this. एक हाथ से 1873 से 1916 तक हम लोगों के पुरखा पुरानियन भारत छोड़ ले और जाकर के सरनाम में बस गए. So it went further. So I gave their language.
Right there, right in India. And it's so nice because my Baba, a term of mockery and prejudice and racism, right, encompasses our culture, our language, and all of that. That we can turn this into a symbol of pride, garv, and respect. But it relies on us. And so it's a challenge to us and Surinamers. Every time you see my Baba, the statue, right, memorial, it encompasses the trials that we face, right, but also we can make something proud and honorable out of it. And that even goes to our language and culture. Yes. Acha. So, Tribune Hindustani, thank you. Namaste. Thank you, Moti Dada. I really appreciate all this.
And I hope you can make much more people aware of the greatness of our culture, the pride which we have in life, and do not feel inferior to any other. We have come on this earth to be respected people, and have our life successful.
Thank you.
Acha.
Namaste.
Dhanyavad.